was born by the river in a little pip. Oh.
Before we start this discussion, we would like to acknowledge that we are hosting this dialogue on unceded Algonquin territory. We honor the Algonquin Anishinaabe people, and we thank them for allowing us to host this important dialogue on their land. I have no words. These are the words that came out of the mouth of so many people following the death of George Floyd and that of many brothers, sisters, gender diverse folks who passed away, who were murdered because of their skin color. And so here in Ottawa, photographer extraordinaire, talented producer Debbie Miller decided to get the community together to speak. Just to speak and to say something, to express themselves and to feel loved and supported by other members of the community as well. And then came this beautiful book and a beautiful documentary called I Have No Words. So Debbie, my question is, what was your thought train process when you decided to put this together?
It's a good question. When I became aware of what happened to George Floyd, the killing of George Floyd, and I saw the video, I couldn't watch it all first time through. But then when I did watch it, there was so much anger and frustration that I was feeling, and I didn't know what to do with it. I think it was the anger that probably was pushed down deep over the years, and then this just brought it to the surface. And I felt like I could no longer sit still and not do anything, and I needed a place to park my anger, to actually turn it into something constructive. And so I thought about, okay, how can I do this? How can I engage the community to come together with me to share how they're feeling? I will start off by saying I am a police officer. I'm also a Black woman, a member of this community, so I'm on both sides of this. And I felt as an officer that I had to speak up because I know what we saw in that video is not how we're trained. That's not how we do things. And I also know that as a result of those actions, it has deterred or fractured even more the relationship between people in our community with the police. So I chose to come at this from a photographer standpoint because I wanted to take those raw emotions of our community members and to put it on display in the sense of getting people to have those difficult conversations and hear the emotions that people were feeling. However, it ended up being I have no words because I couldn't figure out how to say what I was feeling. So what I chose to do with the help of my daughters is to get cue cards and write the words on cue cards. And just by reaching out to different people in the community, the word got out there, and I can't tell you how the response was. It was overwhelming. Young, old, folks that wanted to come together. So we brought them together to photograph them as well as to take their quotes. So we wanted them to say how they were feeling, and so I used those quotes as well as their cue cards and ended up doing a documentary which is called These Are My Words. For those who could actually speak and put some words together about their emotions, we videoed them and created a documentary about their feelings about the systemic racism that they felt, the death of George Floyd and all the other deaths that have been out there, and how can we come together to talk about our emotions, be angry, be upset, be resilient, move from hurt to action. So this was my call to action at the end of the day. And so I never thought it would turn out to be a book. I just wanted a space so that I can share my feelings and bring people from the community together to trust me and others to share their emotions. So that's how this came about. And I'm thankful for those that were brave enough to come forward to talk, straight up talk, which what we're gonna do tonight, about how we can move forward, what needs to be done, to build the trust, as well to hear the different stories of the young men and women that we have today, as well that's joining us from Zoom about their experience. So I thank everybody, and I look forward to the discussion for tonight. Thank you. So I think what we're going to do, if we start off, Gwen, is that we wanted to introduce everybody that is here tonight. And that, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to my right. And if you can take a moment to introduce who you are and how you came to be here, and we'll go from there. And then we'll start our discussion.
Okay, I'm Nathan Hall, CEO of Simple Story. We're a video marketing agency and a friend of Gwen, so that's how I came here.
My name is Manak Lual. I'm the CEO of Presidential Basketball, and I know Gwen as well, and I guess that's how we came here.
Wash Day. My name is Justin Jack Coda Holness. My father's from Kingston, Jamaica. My mother's from Ocean Man First Nation, Saskatchewan. I'm gonna have a little bit of a longer introduction into how I got here, but quick story. I used to work at Wabano as a youth diversion coordinator, and you know, there was a meeting happening in one of the boardrooms, and I got invited into it, and Debbie was in there, and she's like, "Are you interested in trying to be police officers?" I was already being recruited from that moment, and so that was the introduction to me meeting Debbie. And so as we maintained that relationship, you know, she reached out for me to be part of this dialogue, so I'm really grateful for that, and so that's how I got here. So thank you so much. Thank you, Debbie.
Hi, my name is Rebecca. I represent quite a few artists in Ottawa and Toronto, Black artists. He did a performance here this evening, and so that is why I'm here. Gwen invited us, and we're happy to be here.
So my name is Lonely Boy. I'm an artist, obviously, born and raised here in Ottawa. First generation, my dad's from Haiti, mom's from Trinidad, and I'm obviously the first person to be out of my family. So there's some narratives that I'm trying to change. I'm trying to start like a dialogue, because you know I really feel like we're not really heard. So, and we were invited by Gwen, by the lovely Gwen. So I'm here.
Yes, my name is Mark Nice, president of Nice Image Production. I work with my good brothers here, and then we own a media production company. And mostly I do website, videos, photos, and everything. And I'm here because of Gwen. Yes.
Hello, okay.
Yeah, hi, my name is Chris Nice, and I'm CEO of Nice Image Production. These are my business partner. And so I do mostly photos and also direct a photographer, help direct short film, and with these brothers here. Invited by Gwen.
Okay. It's John Nice, my twin, my big brother. So we are the CEO of Nice Image Production. On a media production as well. I do film. I focus more on video. I'm here because of Gwen. Yes.
That's Gwen, recruit girl.
Hello, my name is Gwen. I am the president of the Equal Chance Foundation. I am here because I participated in I Have No Words, These Are My Words, and this is a project, as I was saying at the beginning, of the amazing Debbie Miller, and I'm not just saying this because she's here, it's just because she is. It's because of her courage that we're here, and it takes a lot of courage to be in her position and to stand up and take such a position. So I feel grateful, I feel privileged to be amongst all of us here today, amongst brothers, sisters, elders, and yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for doing this, because it was important for all of us individually, but also as a collective, as a community, to just come together and share and hug. I remember the days that we filmed the documentary. There was a lot of tears, a lot of hugs, a lot of smiles, a lot of moments where we just had no words. And we need more spaces like this. There are not enough spaces like this in our community. We need to create more spaces like this where we encourage to talks around our mental health and how we're doing. And that, no, it doesn't mean we're crazy, and it doesn't mean we need to be shunned from our families. And you created a space in which we all felt okay to cry and okay to speak. So thank you for recreating this space tonight.
My name is Fatuma. I'm an artist and an author. I started writing children's book because I'm really passionate about bringing literacy within not only the Black community, but allowing our little Black kids to see someone who looks like them, to do something that they also can do and more of. So yeah, I'm passionate about writing children's book and also painting and drawing. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Uyenda. I'm a student at Lisgar Collegiate Institute, and I'm also the daughter of the High Commissioner of South Africa. And I'm here because of Gwen. She invited us, and I just want to say I'm super grateful to be a part of this. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Bonseni Dlamini Mtambo. I'm from South Africa, so you know that this would be a subject of interest to me. I've written a lot on the subject of racism, both for the media here in Canada, the Hill Times, and back home. So I'm happy to be here to share our journey, our painful journey. So.
Hi, my name is Devlin. I'm 13. I'm very passionate in the game of basketball. I was adopted by my mom in Kenya, and she brought me home.
Oh. Hi everyone, I'm Devlin's mom, Peggy. First and foremost, I'm also I do a lot of work in the community, both in Canada and abroad. A lot of my development work and activism is focused on working with women who are leading development initiatives in communities in rural Kenya, Sudan, and South Sudan. And I also collaborate a lot with a number of leaders in this room and a lot of leaders in this community who want to make things better for the next generation through activism, sport, art, and culture. And we're really privileged to be here.
Hello everyone, my name is Patrick Mutombo. I am from DRC Congo. This is my 4th year now in Canada. I work for I'm the assistant coach for the Toronto Raptors. And Peggy invited me and thought this would be a good platform for me to learn and hopefully lend my voice and bring a perspective to this rich and unique group. Thank you for having me here.
All right. Well, thank you. I just wanted to share a little bit about who I am. Name is Debbie Miller. I am married. I have 2 daughters, 2 grown women actually, 23 and 20. And I've been a police officer with the Ottawa Police for 27 years in that. So, and I joined policing because I wanted to make a difference. I was one of the first 5 Black female officers ever hired by Ottawa Police way back then. And when I was working there as a summer student, I realized there was nobody that looked like me. So I got a lot of questions from people, why did you want to join the enemy? That's, back in the day, that's what they called it. But I said, if we want to really make change and be a part of the system, you have to get involved in the system. And that's how I chose to get into policing. And I think that's why a lot of us are here today, because we want to make that change and we want to be a part of that change. And so it starts with us. And if our voices aren't being heard, then nobody's speaking for us. So it's important for us to speak up. And I am grateful to have Devlin here because he is our youngest participant. And I think it's important that we hear his voice along with all the other voices here today. So what I'm gonna do is ask Gwen to start with the questions. We wanna start with the folks on Zoom, and we're hoping to start with Devlin first. So want to go ahead?
So this is a question that we're asking everyone here today. Can you share with us if you have lived a situation of racism? Share your story and how it has affected you and how did you bounce back from it? And I think we can start with Dev, who's the youngest person here. Dev, have you ever faced racism? And if yes, could you share your story with us?
Yeah. My mom has stories about how it happened as soon as we landed in Canada. I remember it happening when I was really little, like 5 years old, playing hockey. A teammate got angry that I got to do a face-off and spat at me, pushed me down, and said my skin looked like poo. This color of my skin was part of how he attacked me. That kept happening when I was 7, 8, and older now. When someone gets angry, they will say something about the color of my skin, and then they use the N-word.
So Devlin, when this happened, how did you feel, and how were you able to heal from it?
Well, it's not always about racism. It's about me meeting them in a post or a race. But then they make it about how I look. They make it about being Black. Given how Black people have been and are still treated, I think it's about unfairness, hate, and fear. It's about not getting, we're all just human and all want the same things.
So Devlin, if there is any advice you can give somebody that's younger than you that is going through or that has faced that type of racism, what advice would you give them?
Well, I should say they should be proud of being who they are as Black, or like no matter what color they are, no matter what they say or offend. Just no matter what they go through, to this day they should still be grateful for being Black. Black is an honor.
Yeah, it took us about 15 months to go through our adoption in Kenya, and I knew that we would face racism. I didn't expect, though, that it would happen to us within hours of our landing in Canada. So CTV was at the airport when we landed, and our story was run over the weekend on the CTV Newsnet. And a friend of mine called me the next day, like we literally hadn't even unpacked a suitcase, and she said, Google yourself. And when I went online, I found the first hit with our names was a neo-Nazi, white supremacist web site and news service. And we were the headlining story for them that weekend. And they had retold the story through the lens of tremendous hate, questioning why a white woman would take, and I won't use the language that they used to describe Devlin, out of a continent that he deserved to be in, into a country he didn't deserve or belong to. And I remember just being horrified, like my blood literally went cold, because I knew that we would face it, but I didn't think it would be so visceral and so soon. And that began the journey, for me in a big way, in a real way, because I've always been an activist and an ally, against inequality and marginalization my entire life. Fast forward to when Devlin is 4 years old, I pick him up at school, and I could tell he was really upset, and we were walking home, and I said, Devlin, what's wrong? And he said, I just want to be beige. I just want to be beige like you. And I looked at him and I said, why would you want to be beige like me? Like, I want to be Black like you. Like, why would you want to be beige like me? And he said, because it's just easier, Mom. And he just started to cry. And I remember standing there with him in that moment thinking, like, I need to get on top of this, and I need to make sure that he understands that he is a beautiful, Black, strong human being with a massive heart and a tremendous life and potential in front of him. And that I knew at that moment he needed to be proud of who he is and where he comes from and his heritage and his family and the stuff we do in Kenya. And it literally became like a big part of my life's work to turn that narrative around for him. And you heard him say now, earlier, that he is deeply proud to be a young Black man. And I'm completely so proud to be his mom as a result.
First of all, I want to say thank you for having me. I wish I could be there with you guys. It seems like there's a lot of brilliant people and brilliant talent in that room, and I wish I could be there, just feel the energy in that room with you guys. Devlin, my man, thanks for sharing your story. Peggy, also, unbelievable job you do raising this young man. I'm a father of four boys. My wife is from the Congo, like me. We met in Denver, Colorado. But we both from the Congo, actually from the same village. So we are authentic people of the continent, and we like to whenever we get the opportunity to do so. I want to share a story that happened to one of my sons, very similar to Devlin's story. I came back from work one day, and my sons and I, we have this routine. I get home and we have a way we embrace, and we kind of, a lot of 4 boys, a lot of energy in our home. And my oldest, our twin boys, are 7 years old. At the time, my son was 6, and that day didn't give me the same energy. It was just off. So I asked him what happened. So he told me what happened at school. He had to deal with racism. People were calling him names because he was Black. So, my first reaction as a father, I balled my fist up. I was ready. I was ready to, go to the school and have a few words with them. But, I told myself, I can't mess this up. This is a big, as a coach, you have these moments, those very important moments that can change the momentum of a situation, of a game, of a season. And that was an important moment for my son. He was being shamed because he was Black. And he was being told that he was inadequate because he was Black. So I let him talk, poured his heart out to me, and then I started asking him questions, kind of like in a Socratic manner. I wanted to lead him to a better conclusion. I asked him, who's your favorite player? They like LeBron James. They say LeBron James. I said, what color is he? Brown. Okay. Who's the best player in Toronto? Kyle Lowry. What color is he? Brown. Okay. Who was the best? DeMar DeRozan. So he started naming all these great players that look like him, and all of a sudden his face started, he adopted a different countenance. And then, because they were making fun of his hair also, I said, okay, look at all these players, James Harden and Kyle Lowry again, OG Anunoby. I named all my players. By the time we were done, my son felt proud to be Black. And I thought, these boys go through life already at 6 years old. He's being told he's inadequate. And I was fortunate enough to catch it and to correct it and to instill in them the pride of being Black. We are beautiful people, we are resilient, and that has been my mission. We talk about it now. We explain to them. My son asked me the other day, why do white people don't like brown people? I had to debunk all that. There was more to it. But after they saw, we watched George Floyd's video. Like, I didn't want to see it, but it was on the news so much. One day they saw it, and he asked me, why is that guy's knee on this man's neck? So now I'm stuck, because I really don't want to have this conversation. And I'm on the road, I'm asking my wife to make sure the kids don't see it because I just don't know what to tell them yet. And because I know I was a mess, couldn't sleep for a week. My players were a mess. Organizationally, it was just a time where we were all going, and then now I have to explain it to my kids. And they were young, and I couldn't mess that up either. And nobody has taught me this. So it just took a lot of explaining, and obviously it was important that I also, as a father, do not corrupt their minds, where it's one thing to make them feel proud about being black and know you are not inadequate and that you are an asset to society as a black person, wherever you are in the world, to not feeling like all white people are bad and evil. So now there's a balance there. And I can't remember exactly what I told my son, but to this day, it's something that we're very careful in how we present it and how we educate them. Because ultimately, I think a lot of this stuff we have to experience, we have to go through, it's taught. It's taught. So some people are taught this from a young age. They're taught to act like this. They're taught that they are superior to another group of people from a very young age, and we can't do the same thing in reverse. So as a father of four, it's a balancing act that I have to do every day.
We did start off talking about the racism that each of you have faced or examples of that, but in essence of time and respecting some people may have to leave, who wants to share with us some of the conversations that you may have had with your father or with your mother on being a black male in this community, in this society, and how you navigate this world and this community and keep yourself safe and respect yourself as a black man and be proud of being a black man? What are some of those conversations that each of you have had?
It first happened, my parents had to move from Montreal because my dad was a civil engineer and he wasn't able to get any work. And so he was like, let's go to Ottawa. Great. They have me, I'm conceived. Yeah, I'm super cute, great. Living in a nice neighborhood. My dad finally gets the job and he moves to Orleans. And my mom's like, okay, in Orleans, you're gonna see, you might be perceived a little different. And as a kid, I don't know anything because we were growing up in the West End of Ottawa and it's a lot more diverse. So when I got there, I think it was grade 2. I noticed that there was a group of like 6 boys, who constantly looking to like bother me, and I was very peaceful as a kid. So my dad kind of explained to me, and he's like, every year until you're dead, you're gonna be experiencing something like this. And as a kid, I was like, what are you talking about every year? I mean, every year someone's gonna have to like point out the fact that I'm black? Like, what you talking about? And then we had another conversation again when when I was about 8. And these things, my dad always made sure to tell me, like, preserve your energy, you gotta keep that intact. So exactly what Patrick was mentioning, my dad had to do that because at some point, I was coming home frustrated. Like, I didn't want to be black because that was hard. I'm black, I'm going to a French school. In my French school, there's 7 black children, I am one of them. And out of those 7 black kids, I'm also queer, and the kids knew that from time, so it was like hard. And my dad didn't have all those kinds of conversations because when you're giving birth to a kid, you're not thinking that there's other stigmas too. So there's conversations that I did have with my dad, but they couldn't go that in depth because in our community, we don't even think there's different lenses to look at. Intersectionality is something that black people sometimes overlook. So my experience growing up with racism was very surface. I could have the conversations, but they were surface. So as I got older, I assumed, okay, it's gonna be over. Like, I'm older now, people can respect me. I moved to Montreal, do styling there. That's what I was doing, working for like Essence and all that kind of stuff. And I'm experiencing racism in a head office. I was like, I'm 24, like, what are you talking about? So I called my dad and I'm crying because I just moved from city to city to pursue my dream, and there's people of color in Montreal. And I'm still having to like explain myself as what it's like for me to be a black man and move. I'm just trying to walk. I respect people's space. I respect boundaries. I understand those things, but I don't ever think we'll ever be able to never stop having these conversations because they're happening frequently. And it's out of my control. So kind of what I've taught myself to do and is I educate people. If you talk to me and you're gonna talk to me with disrespect or some kind of ignorance, I'm gonna tell you, it's kind of ignorant. I don't think we should be I'm telling you once. The second time, I'm picking my stuff and I'm gonna go. Because as a kid, I used to get very angry. And I let it get me in trouble once. And when I told them what happened, I was still vilified. And I had all the right to be upset. But anger didn't solve anything. So I preserved my peace. If you are open for discussion, I will talk to you. And if you're not, then okay, peace be to you. I wish you the best. I'm not gonna, not anymore. So those conversations with my dad were always kind of like, yo, you gotta preserve your peace. As a black man, you're gonna be tried several times. And he's like, and he mentioned, and your mom has it 10 times worse. And it's true, because when we go to restaurants, I see how waiters come perceive me, my father, how they're quick to serve us, but they act like my mom's not there. So I had an issue with Moxie's. We stopped going there because can't be disrespecting my queen in front of me. Are you crazy? You can't do that. Serving her cold food, and then when the food's cold, ma'am, you don't need to get loud, because you guys usually like to do that in these. Preserve your peace. So I had to give her the same lesson she gave me. Preserve your peace.
It's a vicious cycle.
So it's a conversation, dialogue, and like Patrick says, it starts young. So schools really need to be making sure that this kind of stuff, if it's not being done at home, the school has to be the second place where this narrative is happening. Because it's not just kids who obviously are indigenous obviously have to have these conversations. We don't school is really number one, especially when I was young, and I didn't have that, and I was growing up in the early 2000s, so you could just imagine. So that was my experience.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, I can add
Thank
that. I can go way back before coming to Canada. Our parents had to sit with us because I also come in the same country as Patrick Mutombo, and I can also say the same village. So we had to sit together with our parents. Our parents used to tell us where we're going, there's a lot of racism. I didn't even know what racism is. And they had to go in details with us, saying being black, where you're going, it's a huge problem. They beat black people up. You just have to be, like you said, you have to keep peace for you to survive, because it's not gonna be easy. Even when we arrived in Canada, when I was in high school, I used to get bullied. I didn't even know what bullying was, because coming fresh from Africa, you don't know most of the things, how it works and everything. I used to be pushed around, being called names, even the N-word, I didn't even know what it is. But growing up, and even in my classes, the teachers used to be racist to me, because when you're fresh from the country, they didn't think like you spoke English and everything. And I knew how to speak English. We had to study English back home. And then they used to try to put us in ESL, even when we were smart than that. And even though our parents believed in us, and I know we were smart, even with my older brother, but it was so hard for me to be able to adapt that. Getting bullied, going home, trying to explain to your parents, saying, oh, they're pushing me around, they're beating me up and everything. And my parents used to tell me, especially my dad, it's like, for you to survive in this country, try to keep peace, because they're trying to get into your system for you to mess up your whole life. You won't even have a better future. And now going back, I think my parents were right. The reason I'm saying this, look where I am right now, owning my own business, doing what I can do whatever I want, because at the end of the day, what I can say to my parents, I thank them a lot, I kept my record clean. Because even with all these things that's happening around us, the Black Lives Matter, it's a system out there to try to push all the black people to do the wrong thing so their career stops from there. So the way I looked at it with my brothers is like, we know there's a corruption out there, but it should not lead us to anger. We must keep everything in peace and keep doing what we do. And I'm sure one day we'll never know. We don't know when. Because at the end of the day, black people contribute a lot. most of the countries are surviving because of the black people. But the reason, because like even like when Peggy the story was saying, it's hard for the kid. But at the end of the day, even like Patrick was saying, not all the white people are bad. Not all the black people are bad. Even when I look at my 2-year-old son, I gotta prepare him for this. For him to be able to understand that racism is bad. You will meet good people, you will meet bad people, but that doesn't mean that you have to be like them. Be you, and I'm telling you, you will survive. So I'm pretty much preparing everything for my son. Even when I watch like cartoons and stuff, I try to mix color. Because I realize that most of the kids, when they're black, they only watch white. Guess what it does to them? As they grow, they're always going to think black is bad. And that is a systematic that is happening around us. And if us parents don't see that, we will miss out a lot. And our kids will always get bullied. And imagine them coming home trying to explain to you, oh, I'm black, they say black is bad. What is gonna be my reaction to that? So the way I see things, yes, there's racism every day. I face it every day. Even when we wanted to get the new space, we were rejected even though everything was clean. Why? We're being black. But should that stop me doing what I do? No. Keep positive and keep everything clean, because that is a system out there trying to make all the black people not succeed. You just have to keep positive and keep going. Don't let anger build in your system. Even until today, I didn't watch the Floyd murder. Even until today, I haven't watched that, and I don't want to. Well, it's gonna just build anger in me, and anger doesn't solve anything. It's just gonna lead to more problems. That is exactly what the system is looking for. But if we think positive, everything will be great, and keep doing what we do every day. Yeah.
Yeah, that was really well said.
I'd love to add to that.
Talk loud so they can hear you.
I got you. My story is a little different. I think anger has been my tool. And I'm from South Sudan. When I was born, war broke out right away. So we had to flee, and there's things that I saw at a young age that stuck with me in terms of trauma, right? We flew to Kenya, and while we were in Kenya, we were at a refugee camp. My mother would, in the morning, go to the grocery store, for example, buy dates, turn the dates into liquor, take the liquor, go to the store, sell it. So she taught me the entrepreneurship of how to survive, right? And while you're seeing all this, she's making money, collecting bodies, dead bodies, piling them up, while I'm wrapped around her. You know, so I've saw stuff like, and I came into this country very angry. Very, very angry, you know? So as a young boy, I remember the first time I realized I was black. And that sounds crazy, right? But you're young, you don't even see color yet. And then somebody calls you a nigger, and they say like, yo, what's wrong with your skin? You go home and you look at yourself, and you're like, whoa, I actually am black. And then you start looking at other black people, and you're like, you're blacker than usual, right? You're dark, really, really dark. I think that's been a gift and a curse. The curse has been not realizing how much of a gift it was until later in my life, right? So I read a book, it's called, I actually forget who it's called, but it's by Ralph Waldo Emerson. And he talks about race consciousness, how when you think black and you think white, you think physical. And in the end of the day, we're all spiritual beings, right? So we're way beyond the physical. So I had to get outside the physical and go inside. But throughout my journey, anger has been my tool. So it's a lot of opportunities that I missed. Like my basketball resume is amazing. You know, I played professional, all Canadian. I have records that haven't been broken. And for example, to get my head coach job, I was overlooked 100 times. There was people that were less qualified than me, but were white, that were gonna get the opportunity. But you know how the world works, right? I finally got the opportunity, and I turned a losing program. First thing I did is hire 2 other black men, hired another 3rd black man, you know? And we took a program that hasn't won 3 games in 6 years to top 10 in the country within a year. How do you do that? Anger, you know? You don't get angry and use that anger towards destructive behavior. You take that anger and you make yourself have to work 10 times harder to get what someone would get just because they're white. And what that does is it creates the habits of Black excellence. Right now, no one can touch me in anything I do because you're not willing to go the distance I'm gonna go. Why is that? Because my skin is so dark that I can go so deep. Don't think that anger is a bad tool. Anger is fire, and fire can either purify or burn. That depends on how you use it. So sometimes we do gotta get angry. We definitely gotta get angry, especially when you see a man getting killed for no reason. We did the peace. We did that for many generations. I'm not saying go out there and kill, but I'm saying be prepared to fight for what you want. And that might take anger. That's kind of all I got.
Yeah, say the first started having conversations back when I was growing up. The George Floyd in my day was the Rodney King. So I saw that happening, like the cops beat this man that was caught on camera in like 92, 93. I think I was like 7. And so just having those conversations, and you know, I've been turned ever since then. So yeah, like you, I haven't watched any video, you know, Philando, none of them. I haven't watched a single one because I don't need to, because you know, those images are still burnt in my head from the early 90s. And you know, so just always being mindful of these things that, you know, you got to move different, like having those messages of, you know, twice as hard, half as much. What was your word? It was taking your piece and all this kind of things. And it was learning, okay, if the deck is stacked against you, how do you have to maneuver? You know what I mean? Like what's the creativity, the resilience that you need to be able to navigate through this and still be okay, so that you can have a family, so that you can have a job, that you can provide, knowing that everything is kind of stacked against you. And so I think growing up, you know, the conversation was always around my safety and just making sure that I'm going to be okay, right? So when I became 16, it was hands on the wheel, safe, to have the music down. You know, you like always repeating those things every time you leave the house, how to deal with the cops, like when they approach you, and everything was always about my preservation. And then going into the workforce, it's, you know, you smile, like you make white people comfortable, and like all these types of things. It's not always explicit conversations, but this was, you know, going back, it's like these were the messages that are always being played of work twice as hard, get half as much. So you're preparing yourself that you're not going to get as much money. You're preparing yourself that things aren't going to be fair for you, and so just going through that a lot. And you know, so those constantly been the experiences that I've had. And then recently, you know, back in June, I had the honor of being named, you know, one of the top 40 under 40 in Ottawa. And thank you. And you know, I posted it on my LinkedIn, and in the comments, someone left a comment saying that no one respects people with a criminal record, and me and my bros need to learn to respect the law in society. And you know, it was crazy. I took the screenshot of it, I reposted it, I tagged the company that I worked, I asked if this is the kind of person that they were proud to employ. And I had no idea how it was gonna go. You know, like I thought people were gonna side with him, because anytime I've raised my hand in the past, people always say like, oh, you're being too sensitive, or he didn't really mean it like that. So I didn't know what to expect, but you know, majority of people, you know, were siding with me. People started tagging the company and all these kind of things. This was the first time I'd raised my hand in a professional setting saying I had this type of a problem, and people actually cared. You know, usually it's just twiddling the thumbs, looking the other way, coming up with excuses. And then the other thing was people started messaging me like, I can't believe people would talk like that. I can't believe people would say things like this in a professional setting. And it's like, people talk about Black people like this all the time in the workplace, and it doesn't get any attention. This just happened in a public way that I was able to get all this attention. But I think, you know, that really, I was always kind of a very politically charged, had that fire, had that anger, but then I know how to play the game, right? Like I knew how to move through society. Like I was very used to it. And now it's like having, I think with the conversations, the backdrop that everyone's been having, you know, it's allowed me to have like, okay, let me push the boundaries of what I'm gonna say to certain people or in a professional space. And seeing all these people had my, you know, gave me that courage, like, oh, let me keep speaking out. And every time I'd share a story or I'd say, you know, what would happen to me. Like I used to live in Montreal too, and you know, all the time, like people would say, you know, N-word in the office place and all sorts of things like this, and like sharing these stories, and people were always like, I can't believe that all these things are happening. And just seeing the disconnect between the dominant society's perception of our lives versus the reality of what we actually go through on a day-to-day basis, and how wide that gap was. And so now, you know, I'm done trying to, you know, create comfort. And now it's like you're saying, it's like, okay, now I'm in a position where, you know, people can't necessarily harm me as much. Like I'm not coming in like a junior and I'm, you know what I mean? Like I've created my own lane for myself. I'm in a comfortable position. So now how can I use, you know, the privileges that I've been afforded now and the position that I have now to knock down these walls that I had to, you know, maneuver my way through, and really starting to push things down. So, you know, I continue to see like all these struggles that people have, especially in the workplace now, and seeing the disproportion of, you know, payment or equity and ownership, access to renting or loans, business loans. And so now it's like I'm really putting all my attention in, okay, there is this problem now that we don't have equal access to opportunities in this place. So that's my focus on now, is how do I use kind of the positions that I've had, what I've learned, to open up these doors and to really fight and to really push these things. But it's how do we get past this idea of normalizing getting half as much? Like I don't want that, like to teach my son that, like to have that as his expectation, that you're not going to get, you know, like that black male makes 66 cents to every dollar that a white male makes, right? So it's like, if his whole life I train him, expect less, by the time he gets that 66 cents, he's gonna be happy with it, right? And so it's like, I don't want that to be the situation. And so I want to, you know, it's that tough balance of how do you create awareness, but I don't want him hindered by those things, right? So it's like, I want him to have that drive of working 10 times as harder, just because that's what you should do. You should push hard for what you believe in, but not have that expectation of you're gonna get less than Bobby down the street. You know what I mean?
No, you're right. You're 100% right.
Thank you. I took away from you a couple of key words there. You're done trying to create comfort.
Yeah.
I like that. So I have that. I'm writing down some different statements that you're making, because they're impactful statements and they're important to be heard. So thank you so far. Justin, you want to go next?
I think I'm still healing. I think the feeling that I have in my body right now is that feeling of trauma. And as we hear these stories, that feeling is just vibrating at a higher frequency. And I think what's upsetting for me is learning that we've, as people of color, as I'm an indigenous person as well, we've had to live with that feeling. We've had to learn to survive with that feeling. So I feel you on anger, on how you can use it as a tool, because it's been a tool of mine as well. Music has been able to help me channel this vibration, this trauma, into something positive. So I think that when we're talking about the conversations our fathers have had with us, my father was always like, you're gonna have to work 10 times harder as the next man. I think we can all relate to that. So I grew up with that in my mind, and I think that's where I get my work ethic from. And then learning about my mother's history, being First Nation, what I ended up learning from this conversation today is that I think my story is about being left out. Being left out of the conversations, being left out of the economic table when it comes to Canada as a country, exploiting resources on Indigenous territories. You know, I resonate with what you said as well when we talk about that pain inside. And there's so much capacity that we need to really harness in order to fulfill our goals and to fulfill our dreams. And when we're talking about keep the peace, and we're talking about, you know, that energy of being able to harness that, for me, like what I was raised with is that it's about killing the Indian to save the man. That's the discourse in my head when it comes to our young people. So when I hear these young fathers speak about their movements toward making a better future for the next generation, Devlin, my man, you're in my mind and in my heart. Young people is my passion. Young people is my flame, because we were all young people at one point too. And so we want to make sure what happened to us doesn't happen to that next generation. And so what I find inspiring about what's happening here right now is entrepreneurship is a form of self-determination. We get to determine the outcome of our lives when we start businesses and we start to become bosses and we start making our own resources of income. We no longer have to bend down to the system. We can start to change policy and legislation so the system can adapt to us. So Devlin, if you can hear me, young brother, follow your heart. Black is an honor. I learned that from you, my man. So I respect that. So I think in closing, that's really where my passion lies today, is carrying two histories of being First Nation. My grandmothers went to residential school. That story is very personal for me. Missing and murdered Indigenous women, that's pain that I carry. The history and the discourse of Black people and the history we have to carry, that's pain. But pain has been my flame that has helped me accomplish these things. So for me, my biggest takeaway in my life right now is entrepreneurship is a form of self-determination. We can create the futures that we want to create if we work hard at it, and especially if we come together like this. This is power in here. So much love, and I appreciate y'all hearing my voice. Appreciate that. Thank you, Debbie, for allowing us to have this voice.
Real.
Watch Day.
Thank you all for coming today and sharing. We're not done, but I just want to go back to Justin. I took away some of the words that you said, and the first one that hit me was that my story is about being left out of the conversation. That is powerful. And I'm glad that we have you here so that your story can be part of that conversation. Everybody else's conversation that's going to be happening after this is aired. The conversations that we're having at our workplaces, walking down the street, in stores, when we're trying to get our business going, those conversations. But Justin, you said it. My story is about being left out of the conversation, but you said your pain has been your flame as well. And entrepreneurship is a form of self-determination. That is a tagline that needs to be put up somewhere because it's so true. And in this room, we've heard about everybody talking about the entrepreneurship. How many times when people come and see you, what do they really see, right? They don't see this, and you're here telling us. And those are the things that I want, and that's what we want people to really see you, what you're bringing to the table. And I appreciate that tonight because you've said things that need to be said. Gone are making people feel comfortable. We're here to make you feel uncomfortable and hear the truth and hear those stories. So I thank you. Over here, Ambassador. You started off by saying that you've had stories and there has been stories that have been told. So we really would love to hear from you and some of those stories that you can share. And thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure. Let me just show my appreciation that I'm in the midst of such intelligent people, young people. And really, for me, it means a lot. It means the future is positive. Firstly, I did indicate that I'm from South Africa. I'm sure most of you would know, or you would have heard the story of South Africa. We grew up under the worst racist system in South Africa, more than 360 some odd years. But then the worst part was the apartheid system that was institutionalized racism, which was more than 46 years. Now, what that meant was that racism was actually put into law, was made law. So the evil, the unethical system was made into law. For instance, the education system was segregated. We had to go through what was called the Bantu education. I'm a product of the Bantu education. That means, for instance, the then Minister of Education, Verwoerd, would say, what's the use of teaching a Bantu child that's a black child? Why teach a black child maths? Because we were only meant to serve the madam, the white person. If you are a woman as a domestic worker, if you are a man as a garden boy, or you go to the mines, you will know how we fought the system. It was bad. We lost our people, our women were raped. Even today, some of our peoples cannot be accounted for. Some, they left the country, they went to Africa, they went all over the world. Some did go home. You will know of people like Nelson Mandela. You will know of people like Oliver Tambo. I must say I am here today because I'm standing on the shoulders of those giants who fought, who were our voices. South Africa is the way it is today because the government did not invest in its citizens. They disinvested in black people. What is sad for me is that it's the settlers, it's the people who came to the country who then, unfortunately, made our lives such that we ended up being not part of the economy, not being part of even today you can see, because this was so entrenched, even today you can see it's still there. It's unlike though when I come here in Canada, the racism is there. Okay, I'm allowed to talk because I see it. It's there, but it's so subtle here. So you don't know how to approach it. And it's even more difficult for the young people like you who are looking for the future. It's unlike where in South Africa, when you see it, you want to confront it. And the most unfortunate thing is we are trying to heal in South Africa. There are those who are capitalizing on our fragility. They want to see us apart. And again, you will see the flare-ups. You will see the flare-ups. I'm happy with the approach that you make, but I'm going to urge you, where you get an opportunity to educate, to inform, to make the change, because there are people who are looking up to you to at least make sure that when they come through, there is a difference. Platforms like this are very, very important. Give your voice, lend your voice. Say what you went through. Help those people who are looking up to you to make it a little bit better for them. Don't keep quiet just because you have made it and you say, I have made it, and you keep quiet. Speak, but speak with authority and make sure you make us proud. We going back to Africa, but we also look up to you to be our ambassadors when we are gone. We shouldn't be seen as, oh, after all, what would you expect? You know? We should be proud and know that there are people who are holding, the flag for Africa. I have had, even here, experiences with racism on a number of platforms, and I've been able to deal with it. I write. That's one. I've been writing. My children have also experienced racism at school. Unlike you, I'm not always very subtle. I've confronted it. I've gone to schools. I've gone to the principals. And it may be a different approach, but what I'm happy about is that with the two schools, both my daughter's school and my son's school, we had to start, there was a program that was put in place to address, to inform, because these children, their parents don't tell them at home. And when they get to school, it's a subject that is better not touched. So when it happened, with my son, it was unfortunate because it really nearly got out of hand. But at that time, he had to react the way he reacted. But I had to go to school, and I was happy that they put together a program where they started teaching children about racism and respect and diversity, which is very important. It's very, very important that people learn about diversity, tolerance, and they learn to know what to say, when to say, and respect. With my daughter's school, again, I had to take head of missions to say, let's go and address here are the issues after speaking to the principal, because my daughter also experienced something of the sort. And I had to go to school. I had to meet with the teachers. I had to say, I'm not happy with this, with this. So what are you going to be doing about it? And they asked if we can help in a way. I brought in women. At that time, I was the president of Women Heads of Diplomatic Missions. And we put together programs which addressed during the Black History Month, Women's Day. So we were able to do something. So because education, information, because again, it's the fear of the unknown. Nelson Mandela says no one is born hating another because of the color of the skin or because of the sexual orientation or religious beliefs, but people learn to hate. And he says, if people can learn to hate, they can then be taught to love. So that's where I come from.
Wow. Thank you. Give your voice, say what you went through for those looking up to you. So you're encouraging us to speak our truth because people are listening. Young folks like Devlin are listening and they want to know, how did we survive? How did you survive moving forward? And what I took away from your conversation is that when you saw something happening with your children or happening wherever you were, you got involved. You started asking those questions, and the people actually turned to you and say, okay, can you help us? So there's a lot of times where we feel people are coming to ask us for stuff and we're tired. I'm tired of educating, I'm tired of that. But you took the approach is that, you know what, I can come in and help you. I need that program started. We need it for the next generation of leaders, your children and so forth. So very powerful words. And you also said what Nelson Mandela said, that people learn to hate, but we can turn that around, right? And that, so thank you. And there was another thing in regards, and I actually took this down, is the government disinvested in Black people. So as Black people, when you feel like you've been disinvested, nobody wants to have anything to do, you are not a priority. How do you move beyond that? How do you become and stay resilient? Because you have. We've moved forward in that. So I find it very interesting. I just want to know if Patrick or Peggy, anybody wants to comment on what they've heard, or Gwen?
In conclusion, if everybody here, if we could do just a round, perhaps Uyanda wanted to say something, or we're gonna do a conclusion where you can share, if you can share one word of hope with the people that are looking at us, just so we can leave with a message of hope. Just one word, it can be a word, it could be a few words that you want whomever is watching to keep in their hearts. So Peggy, Dev, and Patrick, if you want to start.
Well, for me, just, and this is something that I tell my children, I tell young people, somebody mentioned the youth being so important to them. I'm sorry, brother, I didn't catch your name. It's kind of difficult to hear, but I echo those sentiments, right? The youth, it's important. No complex. No complex of inferiority here. You are fearfully and beautifully made. You are fearfully and beautifully made, and there's nobody that can make you feel inferior. God has made you with a great purpose. Go and attack your purpose. Go be brilliant. Go change the world. Go and conquer your platform. You were put on this earth to make the difference, regardless of the color of your skin. All right, you are beautiful, you are strong. Go be brilliant.
I'm going with Hera. It means love in my tribal language of Luo. And it's also my middle name of my middle name.
So my message is like ruthless, open-hearted, unapologetic compassion that leads to unity. You know, we talk about black and white, but the world is way more gray. And I think that if we thought about every action that we have has a ripple effect, even when people aren't watching, right? And if we can come together and think like everything I do is impacting somebody beside me, somebody I haven't seen, somebody on another continent, and we felt that sense of truly heart-centered connectedness, you know, driven by real, authentic empathy, the world would be so much better for it. We wouldn't be wiring our institutions to be systemically, you know, privileging a certain group of people over another. And we talk about government, we talk about system, we talk about them versus us, but it's all us. Every single one of it, it's all about us. Whether it's government, whether it's business, whether it's system, the economy, it's all driven by us, by humanity. And if we can remember that and come together in unity, we can actually we can go so much further, so much faster. And I'm with Devlin, we need more Hera.
My word for my, takeaway here is that we are the change, you are the change. I am because you are, so you're going to.
For me, I just want everybody to know that no one can make any of us feel inferior without our permission.
Yes.
And whatever the world says about you, whatever people say about you, is not your truth.
Yes.
Everybody has the right to have their opinion on you. You have the right not to take it. I think it's Obama that says that everybody's entitled to their opinion, but they're not entitled to their own facts. And the fact is that we are brilliant. We are, as Patrick said, beautifully made. And just no fear. No fear, just keep pushing, keep going, and know that you can truly accomplish anything that you desire to accomplish in this life through faith. Perseverance, love, and respect.
I was trying to think what I'm going to say, but for me, I would say don't forget your ancestors, and at the moment, you also have to set the tone for the next generation. So pretty much you have to plant a seed for the next tree to grow. So each season as we go forward is changing. So pretty much we are here for a purpose. What happened before, don't forget, and make sure you also set the tone for the next generation.
Yeah, for me, my slogan, especially at home with my wife and my kid, is appreciation. I also want to make sure you show some appreciation. Appreciate your skin color. Appreciate your people that you have. Appreciate everybody. And it doesn't matter what color they are. You have to appreciate everything because God can put us here for a purpose, and diversity is strong, so you have to appreciate one another.
Yeah, the only thing I have to say here is it doesn't matter what color of skin you are. You're black, Chinese, everything, First Nation, but the only thing that matters is the result at the end. That's all.
All right, I'd like to just give a little context before I say my word. I'm actually going to use one word. I mentioned I have 3 grandmothers. They all went to residential schools, but they all made a living for themselves. I'm here because of a woman, Debbie Miller. A lot of other people that are here were here because of Gwen, a woman leader. And so for me, the one word that I'd like to leave and hope that resonates is matriarch. And I would love to see the patriarch be replaced by the matriarch. And it's the women that I feel are gonna lead this way, lead our people, lead our communities, and it's us as men that need to support that journey. So my one word is matriarch.
That's good. My mantra in life is health, wealth, mastery of self. But I think what the next generation really needs to hear right now is heal. You know, take the time to heal, like forgive others, take the time to forgive yourself as well, and stop the generational trauma.
I'd say your situation doesn't determine your valuation. You're so much more than you give yourself credit for. So talk like it, act like it, think like it.
I just want to say that you should always protect your energy, take care of your mental and physical health. There's a lot of things going on right now, and it can be very daunting, but just make sure to be good and protect your mental and energy, and yeah.
I think I would like to echo what everybody has said. There is a reason you were born, and there is a reason you were born black. There is a reason you were born black female or black male or black whatever. So do not allow anyone to take that away from you. You are not a mistake. You were born for a purpose. Find that purpose. Use that purpose. When you leave this world, you must leave this world knowing that the people who come after you, your children, your grandchildren, they will find it a better place. In a very small way, you don't have to do big things. You don't have to be a Nelson Mandela or a Martin Luther King. In your space, the space that you have created. This is very, very important. But do not be silent. That is the most important thing. But again, you don't have to fight like we fought in South Africa, because it's a different environment and it's a different fight, you know. But continue fighting that fire that you spoke about. It can be a beautiful fire that will light the whole world, or it can be a fire that can destroy. But such platforms, they will help to channel the fire towards doing right. So just keep it up.
First of all, I just want to thank everyone for coming out tonight, sharing your story, sharing what has pushed you through, your mantras, your lived experience, and how you've been able to overcome the challenges and to turn them into your weapons of superpowers and just moving forward and not being stuck in the anger, using that anger to propel you. When I had the opportunity to sit and have Gwen come and be part of I Have No Words and These Are My Words, we talked about what we wanted, where we thought this may go. Had no idea it would end up here, but what we wanted was a safe space for people to come and share those emotions. Today was that space. Here we are in Studio 2020, having that space. I have to put a shout out to Tegan, because she allowed us to come in here and have this space, and she said to me, this is a space, a safe space for us to come and share our feelings. And I think a lot of the times we don't think we have that space to share those conversations, or to even have those conversations. And what really, I'll say that caught me by surprise, was how many of you talked about your fathers. And having those conversations, because a lot of us grew up without fathers, right? But all of you had a story to talk about what you were told by your father, and how to stand up and that black is beautiful and to use what you have and push forward. So one of the things that I live by is we talk about this ladder up for success as we go up the ladder. I decided I was going to throw out the ladder. No longer am I using a ladder, I'm using an escalator. All right? Because it's wide enough that all of us, or two of us side by side, can go up the escalator. If it gets stuck, you can still walk up the escalator. The difference with the ladder, somebody can pull it up and you can't get up. But here, we're continuing to go straight up. So I encourage all of us to continue on the escalator as we go up, to bring somebody along beside us. We talked about the matriarch. I could not be the woman that I am today if it wasn't for my mother. She came here, she had her struggles, she worked full-time, raised a family full-time, and went to school full-time. And she taught me and my brothers that there's nobody that's gonna stop you for what you wanna do in life. You've gotta be firm, you've gotta be brave, and leap into the unknown, because there is a lot of unknown. But know that you have people supporting you. And when they tell you you can't do it, you tell them yes, you can. And whether or not you have to tell them, you show them. Many of you talked about that today, how you've shown people to move forward. Patrick talked about his sons and the conversations. Devlin and Peggy talked about how they are making a difference. I think all of us are doing that. And I encourage us to continue to do that. I encourage us to come to spaces like this and to continue the conversation. The conversation needs to be taking place. It's going to be uncomfortable, and we're not here to make you feel comfortable. We're here to tell you the truth, and we're going to tell you that we're moving forward with or without you. And I thank you for that. I look forward to more sessions of conversations like this. I encourage you to go out into your communities and have those conversations with the young men and young women, and to honor those matriarchs, because without them, we wouldn't be here. And that, so I encourage you to continue to do that. And I thank you for trusting in me to come, trusting in Gwen to come here and to have this conversation. I really appreciate it. So thank you.
This project was my way of grieving, my way of bringing community members together to have conversations about how they've been impacted by George Floyd's death, and in a safe space, as well as for us to come together as a community to look at and think about how can we move forward, because we have to move forward. And we also can only do that together to make change. I Have No Words speaks to where I can't find the words to verbally say what I'm trying to say, so I have to write them down. Feeling hopeful that change is going to come, and that it will be all of us that are bringing about this change. This is not a moment, this is a movement. I have no words. These are my words.
We don't want to be victims at the end of the day. We just want to live as people. We want to be appreciated as we are, and we want to have representation in all sectors of life. We're Black people, and we just want to live, bro. That's it. That's all I gotta say. So if you're not with me, you're against me. I'm sorry.
I am speechless.
I'm tired of the indignity that I have to endure because of the color of my skin. I'm tired of of taking the high road when injustice is being done to myself and my community. I'm tired of having to worry about my 2 8-year-old sons and what they're going to have to expose themselves to. I'm tired of having to flinch each time that I see a police car on the road. I'm tired of having to worry that my credentials and my hard work will not earn me the opportunities that is afforded my other ethnic groups within the society that I serve. I'm tired of paying my taxes for my protection and my well-being and having to justify doing that. I'm just tired.
Qu'est-ce que j'aimerais pouvoir dire à mes enfants? La vérité, est-ce que j'ai eu une discussion avec mes enfants et la première chose qu'ils ont eue, c'est qu'ils avaient peur. Ils étaient effrayés. J'aimerais pouvoir leur dire qu'ils vont vivre dans un monde meilleur dans le futur et c'est toujours mon espoir.
I'm feeling provoked to be a part of that change, to be a part of that movement for call to action.
Enough was already enough. Enough was yesterday. Today, we want the change immediately. Now.
And I wanted to use my platform as a photographer to be able to capture those raw emotions in photos that you didn't need words for somebody to know exactly how that person was feeling.
Je pense que ce n'est pas le travail d'une seule communauté, ce n'est pas seulement aux Noirs de parler en fait de ça. Il faut qu'il y ait un travail de collaboration avec les personnes en question. Votre couleur de peau n'est rien d'autre qu'une enveloppe corporelle. Et peu importe ce que les gens vont dire, peu importe ce que les gens vont faire par rapport à vous, peu importe ce que les racistes vont faire, vous êtes plus que ça et vous pouvez y arriver. Vous pouvez réaliser des grandes choses et prenez exemple sur les leaders qu'on a dans la communauté. On en a beaucoup, des personnes qui font une grosse différence dans notre communauté et qui font partie de la communauté noire.
You know, the same thing I would be asking, I already got it, and I'm grateful. Just us kids having mentors and people that have, you know, a bigger picture of what the world should be, teach us the way to achieve that and, you know, keep pushing us. Every time we feel like, you know, we're falling, because most of the times this part of my life where I'm at is what determines what I will become. And because of the choices I make at a young age, and people don't get it. They think some people treat you as kids because you're still 16, and others treat you as adults because you are at that point. It's like, what am I supposed to be? But if you show me the way to do it, then I will. The attitudes and the way people behave themselves is taught from the elders, and having better ones that have a bigger picture and just help you all the time when you need them will teach you how to help others. And instead of having bad circles, why don't we make better circles of good where I help somebody and that person helps somebody else, and we just keep growing, but at the same time, you know, not doing it in fear. We have the choice to help others. So why not do it and let us grow to become better.
Yes, I chose misled because the body is supposed to follow the head. So in society, black people, we're the minority, and we're like eggs to shoulder the load of the people at the top, which is white people who we perceive as racist. So it's like in no other like industry would the workers ever have to shoulder the responsibility of the management. Like I play football, so my coaches have responsibility. The owner has responsibility. The players, we do have responsibility, but it's less. We're followers at the end of the day. So I chose misled because the people who are leading us are misleading us. So everything that's going down at the end of the day, everybody always wants to point the finger at the symptom instead of the illness. We are just like the way we're reacting and everything we're doing is because the system that's in place is not equal, it's not meant to benefit us. So now you're trying to tell us, oh, you're doing this the wrong way, you're doing this the wrong way. The only thing I feel like we can do wrong is not to do anything. At this point, like we have to respond. If your kid goes to school, we tell our kids not to be violent, not to fight. But if somebody puts their hands on you, you respond. So we have been getting misled and abused, killed, and then like they've been tarnishing black people, like we're known as being big, aggressive, drug dealers, uneducated, on down the list. Like everything we do is wrong. But when you see somebody from the white community who does something, they find a way to cover it up. It's just like the wording they use. They just find a way to make it, they make it acceptable. So it's just like the rules have to change at the top at the end of the day.
I'm gonna have a black wife one day. For sure I'm gonna have black kids. What am I telling you? What do we do? Because somebody's gonna have to do something at some point. And silence is not acceptable anymore. So who are you to us? We will not forget. You look at yourself in the glass, talk to your racist friends, and explain your silence. Yeah.
Nous sommes tous fatigués de voir des vidéos qui traversent à travers le monde avec cette agressivité. On ne mérite pas ça. Ça rend des gens émus. Qu'est-ce qu'on va dire à nos enfants, Personne ne mérite ça, d'être au-dessous du genou de quelqu'un en train d'étouffer. C'est pas une question de noir ni de blanc, c'est l'humain. Comment on est arrivé là à faire quelque chose comme ça? Donc aujourd'hui, je suis ici, on m'a demandé d'écrire quelque chose sur une carte. J'ai trouvé le titre de la chanson de Bob Marley. Donc, c'est Let's Get Together and Be Alright parce que c'est tout ce qui compte. Tout ce qui compte.
We, as Black, only ask for one thing: equality.
I was born by the river in a little pit. Oh, just like the river, I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. It's been too hard to live in, but I'm afraid to die. I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. I go to the movies and I go downtown. Somebody keep telling me, don't you hang around. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. And I go to my brother. I say, brother, help me please. And he winds up knocking me back down on my knees. Whoa, it's been time that I thought I couldn't last for long, but now I think I'm able to carry on. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will.